Hello, fellow entrepreneurs. Hope you're doing well. It all starts with an idea. Business starts with an idea. The problem is, and I hear this a lot, people will say, I want to start a business, but I don't know what type of business I want to start. And I usually tell them to start with their passion. What is it that you're passionate foremost? What I want to do is I want to talk to you about this idea of coming up with a business that you want to start. And what we want to do is we want to start with what you're passionate about first and foremost. What is it that interests you? What are you good at? What can you do? What is it that you can spend hours talking about and never get bored with? So we're going to deal with passions and knowledge and experience. All of that should come to play in starting a business. Now, I just want you to know that book smart is great. I mean, education is great, and I'll do another video some other time on learning. But all of those books combined, trust me on this. I had a bachelor's degree in business and 10 years of experience out in the business world when I started my first business, and I didn't know what I didn't know. So, what I want to help you with is to understand that book knowledge is great. Education is great. Don't get me wrong there. Although I have my opinions on higher ed, even as an educator, but the books only get you so far. Okay, so what I want you to do is take a couple of deep breaths and realize that I'm not looking for someone to have it all together as they're getting started. So let's start with this. First and foremost, we're going to assume you don't have a business idea. So we're going to start with this idea of a business idea. Now let me switch my notes over here because I have a few things I want to talk to you about for business ideas. Now the first thing that we do is we look at our knowledge, our experience, our passions. What are we passionate about? And you try to decide, is there something in those areas that you can do a business? And you might say, well, I'm a graphic artist, or I'm a musician, or I'm a this, or photographer, whatever it is. The one thing I want to mention to you is, if you do this as a day job, keep in mind that you're going to work for someone else all day long, and then come home, and then work for someone else all day, all night long. Okay, to start your own business. So make sure that if you're going to do something you're already doing, one, you're not violating any non-compete clauses. You got to make sure on that, because last thing you want is your employer coming after you and suing you. Just saying. But the other thing is, are you going to be passionate enough? Are you going to be able to push through? If you spent all day doing something and then you come home and spend all night doing it, even though it's for yourself. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so when we're starting a business, there's something you want to think about. Are you going to have a service, or are you going to have a product? And if you're going to have a product, you need to think about the labor that's involved with that. And the reason why I'm talking about products and labor is because if you're going to manufacture that product, obviously it's labor intensive. If you're going to have a product that you're sitting on a shelf, and you pick and you pack and you ship, there is a certain amount of labor there, but also some overhead. So you're going to have to think about some of these things as we go through this. Now, on the service side, you're probably selling a knowledge base that you have. And so you want to think about that as well. Now, my very first business was a manufacturing business. We manufactured personal care products. So we had lotions and bath gels and bath salts and things like that. And we were in a 2,000 square foot facility, and we were shipping product all around the world. And I've told this story before in other videos. I'm not going to bore you with it today. But that was very labor intensive, and it had a lot of overhead. So if I were to redo things, if I were to have gone back in time and redone something, I probably would have grown a little slower, and I would have been a little more strategic about what I did if I was going to continue that. However, when I sold that business, I made the decision that I wasn't going to do anything that was going to be labor intensive anymore. I wanted to do something that sold my knowledge. And so I launched my business which is what I'm running today. And so now I'm a service-based business, but I do sell a product in a sense. It's actually knowledge. I sell a product in the way of education and learning material. And so I do kind of sell a service, but I also sell a product. So let's talk about some ideas, some business ideas. Now, if you're looking at something in the way of services, again, this may play into what you're good at. What is it that you know how to do? What is it that you like doing? What is it that you have knowledge, experience, education in? And so, as you're doing that, as you're thinking through those things, you might want to consider these things. Now, one of them could be if you have a nice microphone and you have maybe a unique voice or you know a radio voice listening to WKRP. All right, I live in Cincinnati. I can't help it. But if you have a nice microphone or you don't mind going and spending money on a piece of equipment, I think this microphone is under $100 right now on Amazon. But you can get a microphone and you can do voiceover. And you can do this for radio, commercials. You can do it for audiobooks. And there's all sorts of things. If you have a voice and you don't mind talking, and you have good tenor and tammer as you're doing that, and maybe that's something you like doing. Maybe you're a storyteller. Maybe you can start a podcast. So that's another idea that's an offshoot of voiceover. Video editing. If you like to edit videos, if you know how to edit videos, or you kind of are an armchair video editor, and you have people that say, "Oh, you did a pretty good job." Maybe you can sell your services to local businesses. Proofreader. Now, believe it or not, there is a whole world out there of need for proofreaders, from doctoral students that are trying to get their dissertations finished, all the way to people that are writing books. Now, on the side of books, you can also, if you are a writer or you don't mind doing writing, you might also think about being kind of a ghostwriter. So, proofreader, ghostwriter, things like that fall in there. Obviously, if you have a knowledge base and you want to sell your knowledge, you can do an online class. There are all sorts of classes out there right now on YouTube and everywhere else. There's this guy that I came across that teaches people how to do handstands, and he makes money doing that on video. Okay. So don't think that your idea is weird when it comes to online education, because there's a world of information out there that people want, and they want access to it. So think about what your skill, your knowledge is, and put it to video. Build a website. If you know how to build websites and you're good at it and people give you accolades for it, maybe that's something you would want to do. If you have a knowledge and you went to school or you know how to do something, there is a lot of need out there for tutors. We we pay a tutor to teach our son how to be a better instrument player because he plays an instrument in his band. And believe it or not, he meets with his band tutor, his music tutor, over the internet. And even though the guy's here locally, it's easier for us to bring our son home from school and to have a video meeting where my son has his instrument and the tutor has his instrument, and they're talking back and forth, and it works. So think about that. Content writer. Now, there's a huge need for content out there. Now, content can be everything from marketing material to books to scripts. I was working with someone recently, and they wanted to do a short video, and ended up the video was 15 minutes long, and they had all this information. And what I did is I helped them out. I wrote them a script, and the script said everything that they had said in 15 minutes down into a minute and a half. So there is this need for script writing, content creators, and content writers, and so forth. And then finally, in the area of service, again, I'm not going to cover everything. I'm just trying to give you some ideas. If you're a graphic designer, if you like to draw, if you have some skill there, whether it be on the computer or with ink and paper or watercolors or paints or whatever, crafts, whatever, graphic design is another area that you can consider. Now let's talk about some products. Now, I'm going to jump back and forth in this product category because some of these products kind of have a service element to them at times. So just think about that. But if you, I hear this a lot. People say, "Hey, I want to start a clothing line." In fact, I have a friend that wants to start a athletic clothing line, and I think that's a great idea. The problem is there's a lot of research involved. And again, I'm doing another video uh, later that'll talk about how to do proper research. But if you want to do a clothing line, don't start with this huge inventory because you're talking thousands of dollars to buy inventory, and then you've got to unload that inventory. But there are these things out there called print on demand. And you come up with a graphic design, you pick the article of clothing that you want to put that design on. And what you do is you set up a website or a shopping site, and you have that picture of that item with your logo or brand or whatever it is you have on it. And what happens is if the individual says, "Oh, I really like that design," they go and they buy that design through the website, and the order goes through the company that actually does the printing for you, and they, package it up, ship it to the customer. They get their piece of the pie, and you get the profits. So print on demand clothing is one thing. I mean, there's other print on demand items like coffee mugs and other things. Okay, but think about print on demand, because if you have a design idea or you're a graphic designer, again, switching over to the service side, if you're a graphic designer or an artist and you've come up with some sort of design, perhaps that is something you can do. Now, again, if you're a photographer, you can, or a videographer, you can sell stock pictures. There are tons of websites out there that sell stock pictures and stock videos. And what we call that, sometimes we call that video B-roll, which is, video that really doesn't have any talking in it, but it may be like someone walking down the street or whatever. It's called B-roll. So you can do stock videos, stock pictures, and sell those. Now, maybe you're the type of person that if you've ever listened to someone like Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, he talks about retail arbitrage. Now, what he means by that is you can go out there and find an item. And let's say you go to a, Goodwill or some Salvation Army or someplace like that that has a product that someone has donated and they're selling it. Now you can go in there, and let's say you are into vintage clothing. You can go into these places and find vintage clothing. In fact, I was in one of these retail places before, and there was this guy in there, and he was just going through. I mean, there was racks everywhere, and he was like, and he'd pull something out, and he was going. And he had a specific thing he was looking for, vintage wise. And this guy goes all of these stores around his area and looks for vintage blue jeans. And then what he does is he sells them on the internet, or he has clients that come to him and say, "Hey, I am looking for this type of jean, vintage. If you can find it for me, I'll pay you top dollar for it." So there are people out there that want vintage items, and there's people out there looking for vintage. So think about that. Secondhand items. The other thing is retail arbitrage will be something like, let's say you go to Walmart or Target or wherever your favorite store is here in the US, and you find a product, and the product sells for, let's say, $20 normally, but you go to the closeout area of the store, and they have this item in there for $5. Well, you can buy that product for $5, even paying tax, and flip it onto a website. Maybe it's your website, maybe it's eBay, maybe it's somewhere else. You can flip it out there for $15, and people are willing to pay $20 for it. Or maybe you put it out there for $20, what everyone's willing to pay, $19.95, whatever it is. You can flip that item and get it sold, and you make a profit. Now, there's other things you can sell. If you're an artist, maybe you can sell fashion. One of the things that I have come across, and you do your own research, okay? But there are websites out there where you can buy stuff wholesale. Now, one of those places happens to be this website called Alibaba. Now, you'll have to do your research, find out if it's right for you. There are some costs with getting started on their retail side where you're buying stuff wholesale to retail it. But If you want to get into fashion or maybe gadgets or baby or pet products or something, you can find these wholesale companies out there where you can buy inventory from them. Some of them are even willing to drop ship it for you for a price, for a percentage. You'll have to do your research and find out what works best for you. You might want to look at niche items or niche items. There's websites out there that sell things like hot sauce, or I saw one that sold uh, uh, maple syrup. And there are websites out there that sell honey from around the world and different things. You can set up a niche website if you have this passion for something and you wanted, like, let's say you have this passion for potato chips and you want to set up this niche website where you're selling interesting flavored potato chips, whatever. You can set these things up. These are all ideas that I'm trying to give you to help you out. Now, let me just give you some business ideas that I have written down. Air duct cleaning, or the one that's really important is dryer duct cleaning. Dryer ducts cause fires in houses all the time. And all you need to do is buy or have an electric drill and this brush that basically goes on a long pole, and you stick it in there and you turn the brush on and it expels it. And anyhow, people are making money cleaning air ducts and cleaning dryer ducts. Maybe you have a passion for a penchant for antique furniture. Maybe you're a developer and you want to develop apps or websites, as I mentioned earlier. Maybe you are a repairman. Maybe you have some sort of knowledge on how to fix things. There are appliance repair technicians that are needed all the time. I can't tell you how many times that I've seen on my local Facebook, my neighborhood Facebook group. Do you know anyone that fixes refrigerators? Do you know anyone that fixes stoves? It's a big deal. Now, if you live somewhere where fish and aquariums are a big thing, maybe you would want to be involved in that world, fixing aquariums or cleaning aquariums, or basement remodeling, or any other type of handyman type stuff. Maybe you want to be a blog consultant. You've written a really good blog and you want to consult on it. Perhaps you're good at bookkeeping. Be a bookkeeper, business consultant, candle maker. Now, I was a soap maker, but we also had a candle line that we made, so I know a little bit about candle making. But also, there's this idea of candy making that's out there. Again, if you have a passion for that, you can do some research. Again, if you're a handyman, there's this idea of maybe you can do carpentry. Trust me, I need carpentry around my house all the time. Catering services. Now, this is more of a niche sometimes because you're dealing with parties usually with catering. But if you have this really big passion for catering, my wife for years did catering on the side on the weekends for weddings, and she made a buttload of money. Of course, it was a lot of work. It's labor intensive, and you need to have people to help you sometimes, depending on the side of the party. A big thing, if expecting moms and dads, child proofing. Go through the house, be an expert on that. How do you child proof a house? There's a huge need for cloth diapers. There's a whole subset of people that are only willing to use cloth diapers. So maybe you have a cloth diaper service. Also, you might want to think about having some sort of business where you go to people's houses and you pick up uh, their clothes to be laundered or dry cleaned or whatever. You have a concierge service for that. Composting is something that's big, especially if you live in an urban area and people want good soil for to have little box gardens in the summertime and so forth. You might want to think about the idea of composting, computer repair and maintenance, computer training, um, construction cleanup. If you live in an area where there's a lot of construction, you might want to think about that. I will tell you right now, one of the biggest things that I hate about going near a construction area is inevitably someone will get a nail or a screw in their tire. So maybe you have a service where you go through and sweep through with magnets and you pick up all that stuff. So that's something to think about. Customer service professionals, different areas of that. Data entry, huge need. desktop publishing. That goes along with graphic design, direct mail marketing, disaster planning and prevention services. Listen, I grew up in South Florida, and I am old enough to have remembered Hurricane Andrew. Went the time of the recording of this video. I think it was about 30 years ago. It went through South Florida, and it was a 20-mile path of destruction. And the one thing that a lot of businesses learned is that they were not prepared ahead of time and afterward for the destruction that came. So preparing a company for inevitable, disasters, especially if you live in an area that has tornadoes or hurricanes or earthquakes. All of those are important things to have. Dog trainer, maybe you make dog treats. You bake them. Dog waste removal is huge. I actually knew some people that had a business where they had a truck, and it was emblazoned on the side what they did, and they went. They were a pooper scooper. They went to different areas, but they didn't just do dog cleanup in the yards. They actually did a service where they would come into your home and clean out the litter box for your cat. So that was cool. Doulas, another thing that's a specialty item, eBay consultant or eBay seller. You can do florists. That's that is a very specialized area, and there sometimes is a high overhead to that. So just think about that. Against freelance writing, I mentioned earlier, uh, movers, small, movers, like they need some furniture moved, or you need to move across town. You can do some sort of small moving, uh, gardening, genealogists. There's a lot of people out there that want to know about their family history, but they don't know where to get started. You can help them with that. Grant writing is a huge area. I have a friend that works in not-for-profit space. Grant writing is huge. There's always a need for grant writers. Uh, Cleaning. Now, I have another friend that during the pandemic, they started a business cleaning businesses and homes because of the pandemic, and they were as green as possible, I believe, and they were doing really well. I want to say that they were on track to do over $1 million in the first year. So green cleaning is another thing. Green consultant. How do you be a greener company or a greener home? Gutter cleaning, huge, especially in the spring, right before the rains come, because all the leaves and junk over the winter time just collected in there. Hair salon or hair, working with hair, handyman. I mentioned earlier, hauling services. That is huge. I want to share something that's kind of a side note on this hauling service. Now, I live in a neighborhood, um, and y- to get to where I live in the neighborhood, you have to really, you have to want to come here because you have to go through different streets and turns and so forth. But every Saturday and Sunday, Saturday evening and early Sunday morning, I will see trucks. I'm talking pickup trucks, and sometimes pickup trucks with trailers will drive through our neighborhood looking for scrap metal. And what they will do is they will pick up that scrap metal and they will take it to a recycling place and sell it for whatever the going rate is for steel or whatever metal it is they have, aluminum and so forth. So hauling service is one thing, scrap metal is another. Just think about that. Holidays are coming up as at the time of this video. Holiday decorators. Also, real easy for some people is to set up a home-based childcare provider, a home stager. That is huge. And I'll tell you, in certain states where business, where people are moving into it and people are moving out, staging homes is essential to selling a home. My wife's actually really good at it. Every time we've sold a house, she's going through setting everything up. It drives me crazy because you got to keep it that way. But the idea is you sell your home, right? Um, Home weatherization. I'm thinking about the winter's coming. I'm going to need to fix some of the gaskets on my doors that are worn out. I need to fix those. That is something that a weatherization professional would do. House painting, interior, exterior, and so forth. By the way, if you have a pressure washer, pressure washing businesses are huge. Pressure washing vinyl siding, sidewalks, porches, driveways, patios of concrete and so forth. Huge business. Ice cream shop, making your own ice cream. Maybe you're into that. Maybe you need to, maybe you have an interest in being an image consultant, uh, ink and toner cartridge refilling and repair, interior designers, internet researchers. Research is a huge area that most people don't realize. Jewelry making, laundry services, coaching, life coaching, and other coaching, locksmiths, marketing, copywriting, massage therapists. I mean, we can go on and on, personal trainer, pet grooming, and so forth. There are literally thousands and thousands of ideas out there on starting a business. So do not think that there's no opportunity there. One of the best things you can do is go to google.com and maybe type in a very simple search like business ideas for, and put in the year, business ideas for 2022, business ideas to help you start a business. Just put in a basic search and brainstorm your idea to help you get started. Okay, I tried to give you a bunch of ideas to help you think about something. If you didn't hear anything that sparks your interest, again, you're going to have to do some research. I'm going to do another video at another time on how to do specific research, and I'm going to break it up into two different areas. One is going to be how to research, like we were talking about here, how to research coming up with an idea, and then I'm going to do another video on how to research where you already have the idea. Okay, I'm Dr. Foster. I am a business mentor. I'm also a educator, and I've been in business for over 30 years. And while I have all these really impressive degrees and everything, what's really important is that I teach you practical, real world application of starting businesses that don't require complicated degrees and complicated words and writing papers that have nothing to do with making money. All I want to do is help you start a business. I want to get rid of the fluff and I want to get to work. Hope you have a great day. If you need anything, you can reach out to us. Go to my website, maximumchange.com, or you can send us a message through any of our social media that's out there. Certainly would love to hear from you, or you can email us at info@maximumchange.com. I'm Dr. Foster. Have a great day.